Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen to this event today, the launch of the 2011 World Disasters Report. My name's David Peppiatt and I'm from the British Red Cross, and I'll be chairing this launch event and this discussion. Just before we kick off, a few housekeeping points for those of you who have perhaps not a regular visitor here. Others may be very well aware of this, but if the fire alarm sounds, please head out of the main exit, down the stairs, not down to the lift, through the main double doors and onto the road. The ladies' toilets are just outside the door here. The gents' toilets are down the corridor and to the right. Please could you turn off your mobile phones or put them on silence. There are publications at the back. I think most of you will have picked up a copy of the report. If you haven't managed to do that, you're very welcome to take a complimentary report home with you after the session, where you have more of an opportunity to read the chapters at length and at your leisure. The title of this event is, as I said, the launch of the World Disasters Report 2011, which is focusing on hunger and malnutrition. This is not part of an ODI series per se, but is an event that we're very pleased to that the Humanitarian Policy Group hosts here annually as we launch our World Disasters Report, and will hopefully contribute to some of the ongoing work around hunger and malnutrition, and I'm sure we'll hear about some other initiatives and research and policy and practice that this is relevant to. The event is on the record. There'll be a summary put together with the file of the proceedings, and that will be on the ODI website in 48 hours. What will happen is I'm going to invite our three panelists to give short contributions from their various perspectives, two of them as contributors to the report, and then we will open up for a discussion, questions, comments from the floor. There's about 100 of people in the room, but we also have 100 people online, and I've got a very high-tech iPad provided by ODI here that will perhaps throw up questions from many of you good folk who are following this online, and we'll look forward to your contribution to the discussion as well. When it comes to that, I might just say now, please keep points as brief as possible. We're covering a very challenging subject area where there's a lot of experience in this room, and it would be tempting to try and respond to comments on the global food crisis in 10-20 minutes, but I'm going to push you to 1 or 2 minutes maximum for your comments and questions. I'm also aware, just to acknowledge, there is a tremendous wealth of expertise in this room, not just on this panel. I see people like Ed Clay and Suzanne Jaspers and many others in the room who have been very much part of the humanitarian sector's thinking, policy development and research, and really look forward to contributions from all of you to the discussion from your various perspectives. Just before I say a word about the report, I'm really pleased to welcome our panel. Fred Pearce is one of the leading authors for the report. Fred is an environmental journalist and author, and has contributed to the World Disasters Report in the past, and is a particular specialist on the area of smallhold farmers and livelihoods, and I'm sure will reflect on the chapter that he's contributed to. Also Simon Levine, who is a research fellow here at ODI, has contributed to the report. Simon brings not just his ODI perspective of research on livelihoods and vulnerability analysis, but a long program experience of working particularly in Africa with international NGOs. And also Mary Atkinson, who works with us at British Red Cross, is our Food and Economic Security Advisor, and will bring a Red Cross perspective of how we are attempting to tackle some of these enormous challenges and issues raised in the report. A brief word about the report before I hand over to Simon. The report is, this year's report is a very ambitious report as we attempt to address and look at some of the huge challenges on hunger and malnutrition. You may ask why the Red Cross is in a sense attempting to look at such a broad range of issues, many of which are indeed at the very heart of development. And I think for us and our experience, not just currently in the Horn, but increasingly for the work of the Red Cross globally, we are struck by the enormous and growing challenges posed by food insecurity and the humanitarian consequences of those. We know that those cannot be looked at in isolation of broader development issues, and indeed beyond just the development sector. So I think inevitably today's discussion will weave in and out of themes and issues beyond just humanitarian policy and practice, but that is entirely relevant for this subject area, and I hope we may be able to make some useful linkages to beyond just the area of humanitarian practice, although of course within the Red Cross our primary concern is addressing the humanitarian symptoms and implications of this growing global problem of food insecurity. I have to confess, I haven't read the whole report yet, from front to back, but I have spent quite a lot of time the last few days looking at some of the chapters, and on a personal level, and I just was talking to Mary about this, have been very struck and alarmed by some of the data and evidence. And in our discussion before this, I hope that in today's discussion we're not left with too much of a sense of gloom over the huge humanitarian challenges that this report presents, but that we can also identify some potential areas of progress, options, indeed solutions in the subject around hunger and malnutrition. But just some of the striking and alarming facts and figures, if I can just throw out three before I kick off the contributions from the panel. I mean, the report very much opens with that striking fact that may be known to many of you in the room, that almost 1 billion people go to bed hungry every night, even though the world produces enough food to feed everyone. 3 million children die each year from undernutrition, and surely that is a humanitarian crisis. 178 million children under the age of 5 suffer from stunted growth due to undernutrition. Up to 90% of malnutrition-related deaths occur as a result of long-term chronic hunger, not sudden food crisis and famines. And in the opening chapter, David Nabarro, the UN Secretary General's Special Representative on Food Security and Nutrition, says, "Current levels of undernutrition reflect a massive and avoidable disaster for millions of the world's citizens. It is inexcusable and morally unacceptable that this situation persists to this day." So I'd like to hand over to Fred Pearce on my left, to present a summary of some of the key issues from the chapter that he wrote. Fred.